Hey everyone, this is Sash Leia with We Are In This Together. Thanks again for listening in. You guys all know how I love to just jump right in. I don't want to waste any time, so that's what we're going to do again. So today, I actually wanted to really discuss something that I have been experimenting with since I was, let's see, how old was I? I believe it was 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade when I really kind of discovered this and started practicing it. And that is the discovery of what I can versus I can't can do in our minds and in our lives. So let me just kind of tell you a story. I remember being in junior high, and I remember starting PE classes where they taught us how to do bowling and flag football and basketball and all these things. And I remember at the beginning, especially like with golf or certain things that I had not yet tried, as they were teaching us the basics of everything, I could see certain kids who maybe had already tried it before or they were just starting. And for some reason, there were some people who could just learn it easily, learn it quickly. I remember in particular playing basketball and going bowling. And I remember watching others do really well and then watching others not do well at all. And I was not doing very well. And I remember the exact thing that happened when I was staring at the bowling ball and I was looking at the pins, and I remembered all of the technique that my teacher had taught me. And I remember I would just throw it and I didn't really think much and I would get a gutter ball. And I would do it again and I'd get a gutter ball. And every time that I seemingly, quote unquote, failed in my mind, I noticed that my internal dialogue would go lower, meaning it would become a little bit more negative. I would think to myself, oh, I'm never going to be able to figure this out. Well, maybe bowling's just not my thing. You know, everybody else is good at it. Whatever it was that I started thinking. And I remember sitting down and I remember watching other people do it. And I thought, wait a second, if other people can do this, why can't I? It's a bowling ball. You know, it's not required on me being taller or faster or stronger or anything. And I remember just looking around and thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? And so in my mind, I really had this intentional focus of, I can do this. I can do this. I'm going to figure it out. And even if I get 10 more gutter balls, I'm going to figure this out. I can. And I remember as soon as I started really focusing on that, remembering the technique that my teacher taught me, all of a sudden, I would throw it, and this time it would hit a few pins. And that would give me a little confidence. And I'd think, oh my gosh, it's working. And the next time I'd roll the ball and I'd hit a couple more pins. And I just kept practicing and I kept focusing on the technique that I was taught. And maybe I'd ask the teacher another question, or I'd watch what other people were doing and I'd recognize their foot placement or what they were doing with their hand or whatever it was. And I just remember that as long as I continued to believe that I could, then I made improvement. And I got to a place to where I started getting really good at it. Now, that was a long time ago. I have not bowled like that since again because I have not gone bowling as much. So the next time I go bowling, I will have to put that to the test again. But this was something that really began a lifelong way of thinking, I guess you could call it. I started to take that same experiment that I tried with bowling into every area of my life. I started playing basketball, and as soon as I thought that I wasn't doing very good or I couldn't figure it out, I wasn't able to, and I would fall or stumble or lose the ball or whatever it was. But as long as I stayed focused on feeling like I could figure it out, and I kept telling myself, I can do this, and I would set that intention, and I would focus, and I would give it all I got, I was getting better. It never was that I was amazing all at the very beginning. It was that I was getting better step by step. And then I started to think, well, if I can do this with basketball or bowling or golf or flag football or these things that I'm learning in PE, why can't I do that for other things? So I started to practice it with math, English, biology. For me personally, math was always my hardest subject. Oh, I struggled so bad with math. And especially now that they've changed math, let's just not even go into that. But for those of you who are parents, you'll understand what I mean by that. Having to teach our kids nowadays when they come to us with math questions, I feel like it's a whole new world. And that addition was never addition, the way that I was taught. So I don't know. I just kind of figured, okay, I got to try this on other things. So I started with biology. And for me personally, biology came a little bit easier for me. And so I started to ace my biology tests. And it all started with me thinking, I can figure this out. I may not get it right away, but I'm going to keep trying until I do, until it starts resonating, until I start finding the way that I study or finding the techniques of studying that would work for me in my brain. And so I had to try and practice a few things. I would try flashcards, and then I would try reading certain things. And for me, flashcards didn't always work at the time. For me personally, I had to read the chapter 3 times, and I just had a memory that would pick it up. I know other people that had photographic memories that were faster or slower or whatever it was. And so I just had to keep trying to see what worked for me. I recognized with math, I still struggled. And the times that I really struggled the most was when I was thinking, I'm never going to figure this out. This is just too hard. I can't do this. This doesn't make sense. And when I would turn it around, I would take a break. So I would put away the math books. I would just take a deep breath. I would sit for a minute. And I'd go, you know what? If other people can do this, why can't I? I can do this too. I may not get it as well as they do, but I'm going to fight to understand it better. And so I started to ask the teacher for more help. I had to be brave enough to admit when I really didn't know something. And I tried and I studied, and there were still like story problems. For some reason back then, I hated them. And I just, every time I got up to them, it was like a block. I'm like, nope, never going to figure it out. Not even if I try. And so there were certain things that I recognized within me that I couldn't get to that place of saying I can, right? And I had to just keep working on it. Over time, it got better. And over time, I was able to get better scores on my math tests and in my math classes. However, it required a lot more work than my biology classes or whatever it was. So then let's go to life. I remember I started dance classes when I was, 10. And I remember through all this time seeing other girls who could do certain things. They got their splits. They could do certain jumps. They could do whatever it was. And I just decided I'm going to apply the same thing here. I know it's going to take some work. I know that some things actually surprised me when I believed that I could do it and I really focused on doing it. And I just decided I'm going to do this. It would work quick, just like that. But it wasn't all the time. I just knew that I had some weird phenomenon happening for me, and I didn't even recognize it at the time. But I just knew that, hey, if I change my mindset, if I change my words, if I change my intention, if I change my willingness, and if I fight and combat those thoughts that come in and tell me I can't do something or I'm not able to, I'm never going to figure it out, it just changed things for me. It changed the outcome, and I didn't always get everything that I thought I could do. You know, I heard someone say to me, they said, somebody who says, I'm gonna swim like Michael Phelps. I'm gonna be better than him. And they just don't have the same wingspan or the same body or the same ability. You know, there's certain things that I know that no matter how hard I believe in it, biologically, I will not be able to perform certain things. And that's okay with me. However, I decided why not just try and see what happens. So for me personally, swimming is actually one of the things that I am not very good at it. I've tried. I most assuredly drown very easily, and I need to learn more tools, and I keep trying, and I keep getting the same result, and there's just something that I haven't figured out yet for it, and that's okay. I'm completely okay with that, knowing, hey, I'm doing my best. I did try, and I didn't give up into this place of I'm never going to figure this out. And that was just something that I had to eradicate from my vocabulary. And so then let's fast forward. Life gets a little crazy. A lot of things happen. We all have been through hard things, devastating tragedies, things that really can change us. And I remember even things like forgiveness or love or getting rid of jealousy. All these things that I used to label or put inside my head like, well, they tell me that forgiveness is hard if X, Y, and Z happened. And X, Y, and Z happened for me, so I guess it's going to be really hard to forgive them. Instead of listening to everything else that I had heard or believed or was told, I just had to go inside and figure out for me, what did I want to do? And when it comes to heavy or difficult topics and actions, such as giving forgiveness, I think it starts in the mind and in the heart. I think it starts with that place to be able to say, I want to forgive, number one, because if we don't want to, we're never going to figure out the solutions. But number one, saying, I want to forgive. I want to learn also what the boundaries are to protect myself as well. And I want to be able to move on from this. And when you decide, when you make a decision like that, all of a sudden things start coming up differently to support you. When I am stuck in anger, or when I am stuck in confusion or hurt, I don't really see the solutions as easily than when I say I am angry and I am hurt and I'm going to get through this eventually. Right now, I'm just going to sit and feel the anger for a little bit. I'm going to keep my mouth shut for a moment until I can kind of cool off enough to see things a little bit more level-headed. And when I'm ready, I am going to figure out how to forgive this person, how to find a new normal for me in this space, and how to move forward. It starts with a decision of I can. I think so often, and I've caught myself doing this, unfortunately, with my own kids. No, you can't do that. No, you're too young to cut that apple yourself. No, let me do it. You're too small. No, you can't X, Y, and Z, right? And I think it comes from a space of love and wanting to protect. However, I recognized really quickly that all of a sudden I was teaching my kids that they can't do things. The very thing that I had been struggling so hard to fight against my whole life, I was then perpetuating that. And I really do believe that there are some things that we just physically cannot do, right? Because I know that there's a lot of people out there that might disagree with me and say, no, you can do anything if you just believe it. I just know it. But I also believe that there are some biological things that stop us from being able to do certain things a certain way. And I've had to learn that, right? But I always wanted to just try it. I was always willing to say, I'm just going to try. With going back to my kids, once I started recognizing that, I had a really cool experience with one of my daughters, my bonus daughters. I decided to take all of my kids out to, I think this was 2 years ago. I decided to take all my kids out to a little park. It was all dirt hills and it was for their bikes. Well, my two bonus daughters had never been to a place like this. They had ridden their bikes on the street or on the road or on the sidewalk, but they hadn't really ridden it up and down dirt hills and berms and stuff like that. And so we got out of the car and my two boys took off and they were riding all around, and my older bonus daughter was a little nervous, but she got out there and she started doing it. She didn't quite know how to navigate it. And then I noticed my youngest daughter would get kind of to the edge or the beginning of the hill and then stop, or she'd bail off of her bike. And at one point I saw her walk her bike around the corner and stand there. And I walked over to her and I said, "Hey," I'm like, "what's wrong?" And she's like, I don't know, I just can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. As she just kind of looked down. And I just sat there for a minute. And because a lot of the times with my kids, I really try to seek for knowledge. I go inward, I pray, I ask for insights to know how to help my kids in certain situations. And this was one of those times. And I said, I really believe you can do that. And she looked at me, she said, no, I can't. And she walked over, threw her bike on the ground, and sat down on the dirt. And normally I try to be pretty patient where I can, right? I fail at this a lot. But in this moment, I decided to sit down to her level. I crouched down and I looked at her and I said, if you continue to keep thinking that you can't do something, you're never gonna be able to do it. I said, I know you can. I said, and you may not get it the right way, or you may not get it the first time you try, but unless you start thinking and believing that you can do something, you are never going to be able to do it, because it all starts in believing that you can do this. I said, this is going to be everything in your life. You're going to come up against everything, be it a test, be it a friend who wants you to try something new, like, I don't know, maybe you guys are going to want to go boating or hiking or try a new thing and dance one day or whatever it is. No matter what it is that you're going to come up against, it could be in a relationship, it could be anything. I said, you're going to miss out on a lot of things if you continue to believe that you just can't do them. I said, look at the way that your body is responding to you right now. I said, you're sitting in the dirt with your head crouched down, your shoulders crouched down, and how do you feel? And she said, I feel defeated. I feel sad. I just don't feel good enough. And I said, so then, do you want to continue to feel that way? She said, no, I don't. I said, okay, then you have the choice right now. You can get up on that bike and you can look at that hill and you can decide, I may not get this right the first time. I may even crash. And I can do this. If somebody else can do this, why can't I? And I'm going to try it and I'm going to do it. Or you can stay sitting in the dirt and you can watch your brothers and sisters go up the hills, and that's totally okay. If that's what you would prefer, that's completely okay, and that's your choice. That's a beautiful part of this, is it's your choice. And you can continue to feel a little down, a little sad, a little defeated. And it's okay to feel sad and defeated and down, because sometimes we are going to get that way. I said to her, but you have a choice right now. I know you can do this, even if you don't. So if you need to borrow that, I totally understand. You can borrow some of my confidence in you, but you are the only one who will be able to do that, because you are the one who has to decide that you can do something, not that you can't. She just stared at me. I walked away and I let her sit in the dirt. And about 5 minutes later, I saw her get up on her bike. I saw her look at me. I saw her watch the other kids get speed before they'd go up the hill. What they would do if they didn't get enough speed and they would just step off. I watched her watch them. And I watched her ride her bike and get up over that hill. And the best, most rewarding piece of this whole entire experience for me was what she did after she went over that hill. She raced around with the biggest smile on her face. She was beaming and she said, Sasha, I did it. She was so happy. And she raced off to try another hill, and she had the time of her life. And in the 2 years since we had that discovery together, she has come up against many other things that she thought she couldn't do. And because we had that under her belt, I was able to remind her Do you remember that time when you thought you couldn't get up those hills? What happened? She said, I thought I could. And I went for it, and then I did. I said, yeah. Like, so you may fail trying this time. I don't know. Or you may not. The power of I can has molded everything that she has done too. She doesn't always get it right, and a lot of the times she feels defeated. And a lot of the times she feels like she can't. Because I'm an adult. I've lived much longer than her, and I still have to fight the I can'ts in my life. It's especially difficult when I have kids or I have ideas or whatever else. Sometimes all I can think of is, well, I can't because I have to do this, or I can't because I have to do this. Well, I can't because of this responsibility. And really sometimes it's all about putting the I can'ts away and recognizing there is an I can, and how can we make that I can happen in a way that will support everyone involved. It's been amazing to me what the power of I can has done for me, for my children now, and for moments when I'm speaking to a friend. I don't know how many conversations I've had with loved ones where I watch them, their head hangs low, and they say, I just can't do it. There's a big one, I just don't have the money. I just don't have the time. I just can't. But I know without a shadow of a doubt that if you decide that you can, you will figure out ways to make something happen. You will figure out through failure. You will figure out through sometimes tears and stress and heartache and all these different things. And one day, you'll be up over that hill. And you will look back and you will be so grateful that you made the decision to just try, to just say, I can, instead of I can't. I know this doesn't apply to absolutely everything. All I can tell you is I can promise you that big changes will happen in your life. If you can recognize the conversations that you're having in your head and switch one thing to I can't to I can, and just see what happens. I hope you guys have enjoyed these experiences that I have shared with you, and I hope that each one of you listening, if you don't already do this, I hope that you can just put it to the test. In a world right now where everything is being tested, where sometimes I don't even know what's true anymore. All I can do is just decide to try, decide to experiment, and it's going to tell you right away if something's not going to work. You'll try it and you'll go, wow, that did not work out that way. Okay, what's another way I can try this? You know, sometimes when you get up to a wall, if you're on a hike and you get up to an obstacle like a big wall or whatever else, there's a few things you can do, and I'm sure some of you have heard this, but you can look at that wall and you can say, well, I've come this far. Guess it's time to turn around and go back down, which is fine. Or you might be the person that says, I'm going to climb over this wall and get to the other side, or I'm going to dig underneath this wall, or I'm going to find a way around it. There's more. And honestly, only you can decide. Only you can decide what's right for you in your journey. And I do know that changing just this one simple phrase in your mind will help to open up possibilities in ways that you never imagined before. Anyways, thanks for listening in. If you feel like this could help someone, please share it. And I really appreciate you guys just taking your time out of your day. I hope you have a good day. Bye.